All right, welcome. So today we are going to talk about medieval lifestyles of the rich and the famous. And so in the medieval times, there was obviously a feudal system we talked about and a hierarchy. So some people lived up here in the castle, the king, obviously, and some people lived lower down. So the nobles might live down in here, and then way down here you can see a peasant. That circle still works. Great. So there was a wide variety, and usually you found these towns and small villages forming right around the base of the actual castle, or perhaps, as you can see here, in the castle itself. So you can see the castle walls outlined here, and the town is starting to, or is very well established within the castle walls. And so that would provide protection. And the king, as a thank you to the whole community for the food, the produce, and all their services, he was providing protection. And so that makes sense that they were inside versus outside the property, where we see sometimes, and in this case here. So in these towns, you can see there's no paved roads, streets are made out of dirt, there's no sewers, no drains. We're talking about buildings just made out of wood, maybe some plaster, usually 2-3 stories tall at the most. Pedestrians walked with great care around because there was no sewer, there was no drainage. People were just chucking buckets of whatever out the window, right? Whether that be feces or bathwater, dishwater, whatever. And so it was a very precarious life for sure. These towns also had a lot of rules. For example, you had to clear the garbage in front of your house. Families had to keep a ladder, a pole, a tub full of water at the front of their house in case of fires, so they wouldn't spread, and they would spread very quickly. Your usual town was about 2,000 people, and that was a large city town, and it was developed mostly around trades. So in this picture you see a lot of houses, but there were a lot of trades. So weaving, welding, blacksmithing, things like that happened. And so townspeople with a similar trade or ability, or profession if you may, would oftentimes join in a group. And so what you're looking at here is a bunch of guild emblems. And so nowadays we've got unions, and they're created to protect workers, improve working conditions, make sure there's quality of products coming out. In the Middle Ages, these were guilds. So unions and guilds are really the same thing. And so these guilds would be, there's an emblem for each one type thing, and they would establish that everyone was treated fairly, that there was quality of product and prices. Failure of businesses to meet these conditions would result in a fine or loss of their membership in the guild. And you could not participate or practice blacksmith or weaving if you were not a member of that guild. And interestingly enough, these guilds took care of each other. So if somebody lost or broke a tool, it was replaced by members of the guild, and they worked together as a team in that regards. And even more so, men and women were both members of the guild. So if a man or a woman's husband died, she inherited his membership in the guild and could participate in the guild and do craftsmanship in the guild. And a lot of guilds were primarily made up of women even. For example, silk spinners was a primarily female guild. And kind of on that topic as well, marriage and divorce. Marriage was not a formal church ceremony until Charlemagne came along and became the Holy Roman Emperor, in which case, again, church and state merged. But at this time in the early Middle Ages, marriage was just kind of two people said, hey, I think we should be married. Boom, it's done. That's all that was necessary, an agreement. At the same time, though, divorce was not allowed by the church, and so there were obviously some marriages happening in the churches, the more expensive ones, the richer families. They were happening, and the church was not allowing divorce. So there were obviously some ways to get annulment, and certain situations, cruelty, adultery, things like that, where of course you could be allowed out of your marriage. But for the most part, that did not happen. And so, depending whether you were rich, famous, or poor, would determine what kind of entertainment you partook in. So, there was singing, dancing, celebrating good news, listening to music, participating in sporting events, attending plays. However, most of these recreational pursuits were dependent on your wealth and your ability to access certain things. There were, of course, certain conditions. Oh, you have to dress in certain attire to attend this or that. There was jousting matches, which I think we talked about when we were talking about the knights mounted on horses, carrying lances, charging at each other. That was a huge, very famous activity. Members of the mobility or nobility would be found hunting for fox, rabbit, grouse in the forest. For peasants, though, hunting was considered poaching, and so it was illegal, and if you were caught, you were punished, sometimes even by having your hand cut off. Falconry, which again is kind of the owning of falcons and hawk-like birds, trained to pursue and kill small animals. That was again a elite activity. For peasants, though, and the poor people, the serfs, just fairs were the most popular amusement. Going to the fair, watching jugglers, acrobats, minstrels, musicians performing and playing for your guild or whatever you were part of. Obviously travel, you wouldn't have had horses if you were on the lower classes and means to travel very far. So you would have to go and enjoy life where you were at, basically, right? And so that's just a quick kind of synopsis of what was happening in the medieval times for entertainment in the lives of the rich and the famous, and they were all intermingled and intersupported. Of course, the feudal system meant interdependence on each other in everything they did. So, check in next time for some more details of life of the Middle Ages.